Hey guys, welcome back. The fly we're going to be tying today is an elk-haired caddis. The size hook I'm using here is a size 12 standard dry fly hook. We're going to be using brown thread. We'll tie our thread on here, and we're going to work the thread all the way back to about the bend of the hook. And then once we get it back there, we're going to want to tie on some extra small copper wire. And I've had people say, well, why are you putting copper wire on a dry fly? With the extra small and how much hackle we're going to throw on this guy, he's going to float just fine. If you don't want to use the copper wire, you can use your thread. What you'll do is you'll tie off here, throw on a whip finish, cut off, give yourself about 3 inches of excess thread, and then just tie back on up at the front. But what we're going to do, we're going to tie on our copper wire. I like to go up to the front, come back, and just make sure it's nice and secure there. We're going to do the same thing as far as length. We're going to cut off about 3 inches of this copper wire here. That's going to allow me to use the rotary feature on my vise. Once I get that tied on, we're going to get some peacock curl. I like to do 2 strands. You've got kind of nice looking feathers on one side of each of your peacock strands. So I do 2. It just gives me a better chance that I'm going to get the nice strand facing out, give me a better look. So trying to get both of those to come up, but it looks like we'll get 1 out of the 2, which is still okay. But we'll get that tied on, move our thread up to the front. We're only going up about 3/4 of the way because we're going to have to tie off a bunch of elk hair at the end. So we want to make sure we leave ourselves a little bit of room. But I like to do a half hitch now since I've had this rotary vise before I do any type of rotary feature or anything like that, and make sure my thread doesn't come off and unravel. So anyway, once we get our thread half hitch tied on, we're going to grab our peacock curl. We're just going to slowly wrap all the way up to the front. Watch out for that hook. This peacock curl is incredibly fragile, so you want to make sure you're not dinging it up on the hook. And we can get it all the way up to the front here. And once we get up to the front, we're going to tie off, and you want to go about to where your thread is, probably about 3/4 of the way up. And we're going to tie off here. And I'm starting to spin out a little bit, but we should be okay still. Yeah, we're okay. We didn't spin out too much. What I did there, I just didn't get enough wraps around my peacock curl and it started to spin out on me, but we're okay. So we'll make sure that's nice and tight and secure. Now we're going to grab some type of natural colored, earth colored brown saddle hackle. We're going to tie him on up at the front with the bend of the hackle kind of facing backwards, so when we go to spin it, all our little feathers, each individual feather is going to be facing to the back of the hook, and we're not getting it all tangled up and crazy stuff with our elk hair up at the front. So you'll see when I start to bend that, it kind of naturally wants to bend backwards. It really still sticks straight up, but the natural bend's still heading backwards, and that's kind of what we want here. If you happen to throw it on the other way and they're sticking out forward, don't worry too much. I don't think the fish are going to care in particular. It just makes it easier for you when you come to tying on the elk hair. Once we get to the back here, now we're going to use this copper wire or the thread if you decided to use thread instead. We're just going to slowly wrap around. We want to have even segments. This is going to hold down our hackle, plus give segmentation to the bug, make it look more realistic. So we're going to go around there. And once you get around a few times, I'll show you. I want to probably go one more time. Once we get around, we're going to test with our hackle pliers. See how I just kind of push it forward. I didn't spin out, so that means I've got it tied down nice, rather than just letting go or cutting off and then having everything unravel. We're just going to keep working it back and forth. You see me wiggling it here. What that's doing, that's allowing me to not mat down as many hackle fibers, but again, you want to have pretty even spacing. You kind of see that's fairly even, but just keep going back and forth. You're going to mangle some of them, but the goal is to get the majority of them sticking up straight still. And once we get to the end, we'll tie off our wire, and then we'll move on to our wing. So this is a great fly when you've got a caddis hatch. It really works well. I've had better luck on some of the small streams, fishing up in the mountains and that kind of thing. versus fishing it right on the South Fork. Sometimes I think the South Fork may get overfished a little bit, so the fish can be a little bit more picky. Once we get our elk hair stacked, a technique that I really like to use when tying on elk hair, I go up above and then I don't tie onto the hook with the first wrap. I'm just doing a wrap right around the elk hair. And then my second wrap, I tie it down to the hook. And you'll only want to pull up and down on your thread. You don't want to pull side to side as you're wrapping. You want to have all your tension going up and down. Then we'll do a couple wraps just around the eye of the hook there. That's going to help keep it secure from going forward or backward as well. We'll just do a couple more wraps, make sure we're good there. And then as I'm cutting it off, I don't want to cut it off right next to the thread. I want to leave myself a little bit of room just like that. What that's going to do, that's going to help prevent my thread from sliding off the front. Plus it gives a nice head appearance to the bug, gives a nice shadow effect. When the fish are looking at it from underneath, makes it look a little more realistic. But what I want to do is probably one more wrap just around that hook there before I whip finish. And I got a couple of my elk hair, so we'll just snip those off. And that's pretty much what the fly looks like. We're going to whip finish off. I like to do 2 sets of whip finishes on some of my flies that catch a few more bug or a few more fish. They just really get beat up, and I'd rather keep the same fly until it's completely mangled rather than having the thread come undone prematurely. So I do 2 whip finishes there, and when I'm tying these flies, I go through a lot of them, so I'll probably tie a half dozen or so, and then I'll just glue them all at the same time. Makes it a little bit easier. But that's your elk-haired caddis. Check out our other caddis life cycle patterns. You can get that at the website. We're starting to get the life cycles of all the different bugs. So when you have a particular hatch coming on, you can have everything from your larva up to your adult, your emerging, everything like that. Here's a list of the materials you guys are going to need. Pretty basic, pretty simple. You can buy them all at the website there if you want to go there. We've got pretty competitive prices now. We've got a great wholesale distributor now. But check out the website, easternidaholflyfishing.com. Thanks, guys. Good luck.